Hello folks and welcome to today's show. Myself, Shane Stapleton. As always, we're here with Michael Verney with so much GA to talk to you about. We're going to be reacting to the All-Stars. We're going to have Seán Óg Ó hAilpín on. We're going to have Sambo on. And there's just so many big games coming up this weekend, Michael. But we can't start anywhere other than the All-Stars. So the Hurling All-Stars have been revealed. And I suppose, look, I'll just go through them quickly. Owen Murphy in goals, Mikey Butler, number 2, Hugh Lawler and Dan Morrissey fill out the full back line. The halfbacks, Diarmuid Byrne, John Conlon and Kyle Hayes. Darragh O'Donovan and Will O'Donoghue in midfield. You've got Shane O'Donnell, TJ Reid and Tom Morrissey making up the half-forward line. And 13, 14, 15, Conor Whelan, Aaron Gillane, Owen Cody. So it's quite a stellar list. Is it the right list?
Well, we don't mean to say we told you so, but we told you so. Because when we did the early All-Stars before the All-Ireland semi-final, what was our team?
This was us in mid-July.
Mid-July. Owen Murphy, Mikey Butler, Dan Morrissey, Hugh Lawler, Diarmuid Byrne, John Conlon, Kyle Hayes, Darragh O'Donovan, Will O'Donoghue, Shane O'Donnell, TJ Reid, Tom Morrissey, Aaron Gillane, Conor Whelan and Owen Cody. That's a full house, 15 out of 15.
But we don't like going on about it.
No, we hate to power ourselves. Listen, it's rare enough in this game when you put your head in the block that you get something right, as our power rankings showed. So when we do get things right, now that's not to say that they're all right, because that was before the semi-finals. What do you think? Who are the unlucky ones? I have a couple in my head that I think were unlucky to lose out. Who are the main ones that jump out for you?
Yeah, well, look, I think Tony Kelly's probably a little bit unlucky. You get a hat-trick in an All-Ireland quarter-final, you've got to feel a little bit unlucky. But, people question then the semi-final against Kilkenny. Did he get enough out of that game? Nicky Quaid, I think he's so key to what Limerick do. Did Owen Murphy, and he's also brilliant. So you're kind of splitting hairs a little bit with the two of them. But was it on the basis of that save in the semi-final against Clare, which was absolutely crucial, whereas because Limerick were going out and, beating the snot out of Galway and Kilkenny in the All-Ireland semi-final, does that put less weight towards what he's done? I wonder, is that it? Mike Casey, Barry Nash, perhaps you could say David Fitzgerald, should Will O'Donoghue have been centre-back? So there's a lot of talking points. Well, what do you think? And then I'll bring up some of what the viewers think.
Yeah, well, I do think Nicky Quaid is unlucky, and I do think once Owen Murphy made the save in the semi-final, and I rate Owen Murphy unbelievably highly, and we've waxed lyrical about him on this show, but once he made that save in the semi-final, I don't think Barry conceded 5 in the final. He was always going to get the All-Star. Yeah. But I think hurling has changed a hell of a lot from making saves unreal, and don't get me wrong, that was one of the most unbelievable saves I've ever seen. But Nicky Quaid tends to control games with ball in hand. Look at the impact maybe he has with ball in hand, maybe compared to what Owen Murphy has. And maybe that's a lot to do with the style of play and how Kilkenny play compared to how Limerick play. But I definitely think Nicky Quaid's going to finish his career whenever that happens, probably with a hell of a lot less All-Stars than he probably should, to be honest with you. Just check there quickly. What has he got? 2 at the minute? I think it may be 2 at the minute. For a guy Jesus, since 18, he has, even in 18, when you look at it, Owen Murphy made all those saves against Limerick in the quarter-final. Nicky Quaid made one of the most unbelievable flicks of all time in the semi-final in extra time, but still didn't get an All-Star. I think he's had an unbelievable effect on hurling the last couple of years.
Mike Casey,
well, not being smart to you. Cluxton has 5 All-Stars, I think, maybe potentially 6 tomorrow night. For what he's actually done for the game, you're thinking he should be up near 10, realistically. But I think Nicky Quaid falls into that bracket as well, where people take it for granted what he actually does. And how easy he makes it look. Cluxton is the same. It's just Cluxton doing Cluxton things. Nicky Quaid is the same, and he's maybe overlooked just how hard it is to actually do those things. Mike Casey was very close, in my opinion. Very, very close. And I thought he did a reasonably good job on Owen Cody in the final. Kept him as quiet as anybody has kept him probably this year. He was very close. He's still the only Limerick starter without an All-Star, which I did a piece in the Independent. I think it's in tomorrow's paper actually, but guys that missed out on an All-Star, and it must be a little bit annoying to know what you've done in games and to look around the dressing room and everybody else has one. Don't get me wrong, that's not why you're in it. Totally, and he has 5 All-Ireland medals, and I'm sure he values them a hell of a lot more than any All-Star. But still, it is a nice box to tick. And like, if you look at it, he has no all-star from that great team. Aidan Fogarty has no all-star from the great Kilkenny team, from the great Cork team in the mid-noughties. Tom Kenny, amazingly, has no all-star, despite being nominated 6 years in a row. Like, some really, really good players have probably fallen through the cracks. Barry Nash was close. I don't think he was as good as he was last year, but he was in Hurler of the Year form last year. Tony Kelly, close. Like, you know, I'm a big TJ Reid fan, and I've always, to me, he's probably one of the best hurlers I've ever seen. But like, after the final, you're kind of thinking maybe Tony Kelly goes up a notch ahead of TJ again. This is probably the softest all-star he's won, I would say. It didn't jump out to say he's definitely going to get one this year. And like, I think the team potentially could have been jigged around a bit. Like, I would have had no issue with Will O'Donoghue centre back, genuinely, after playing. Like, Brian Whelan got a full forward all-star after playing full forward for 45 minutes. So if Will O'Donoghue played centre back for 2 games and played well there, he could definitely get the all-star centre back. That would have potentially shifted a midfield spot that maybe David Fitzgerald could have fit into, maybe Tony Kelly could have fit into. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's maybe that's harsh on John Connon, but I'm just that they're the kind of close calls that were made.
Yeah, well, there is a sort of a big name favoritism in these awards. Like, I remember Joe Canning talking about, you know, obviously he deserved plenty of his awards, but I remember one year he was talking, did an interview, it could have been the Guts of 10 years ago, and he was talking about one All-Star where he felt, and I'm paraphrasing, that he possibly didn't deserve it. So you'd see that with the big names at times. So there is probably, like, TJ Reid's done some unbelievable stuff, but I agree, you know, like, players lose out on All-Stars because of what happens on the biggest day, and maybe he had quiet All-Ireland. And, you know, Tony Kelly has lost out on awards in the past because maybe he'd have a quiet All-Ireland semi-final. Do you know what? I'm going to bring up some of the comments that people have sent into us on the X channel. So Marcus Lynch says, looks like TJ will be keep getting All-Stars even after he retires. A few good passes in the All-Ireland final, played okay. Finster says, what about Cathal Mannion? Tom Kyo says, no Tony Kelly or Mark Rogers. It's a disgrace yet again. Limerick got too many. TJ Reid is as fortunate to be in ahead of Tony Kelly, says Michael Kiladangan, maybe it's Kelleher, who got Hurler of the Year. We'll find out yet. Nicky Quaid, Mannion and Tony Kelly deserved an All-Star this year, consistently performed at a higher level. 5 for Kilkenny, who were destroyed in 2 finals, says Denny Ryan. So not everyone is happy with it. Like, it's a tough one for us to sort of try to rob someone of an All-Star and, you know, rain all over their parade, but it does feel like maybe 1 or 2 got in a little bit handy. Seán Óg Ó, hAilpín, great to have you on the show. How are things?
How are you getting on, guys? Shane, Michael, how are you? All good?
Good. Did you ever get a soft All-Star, Seán Óg?
Some would argue all my 3 were soft ones, yeah.
I don't think so.
All my poetry 3 were soft ones. Funny enough, when you talk about the All-Stars, there was other years where I thought I probably should have got one, but didn't. And one of definitely 2003. I didn't think I that was the first one I got, but I didn't think I deserved one that year. But there you go. You know, the years that you think you be a shoe-in for one, you don't get, and the years that you don't expect to get one, you do get. So look, it's that time of the year, isn't it, where like people have their arguments over the best All-Star team. The reality is you can pick 4 or 5, different variations or formations of All-Star teams, and you wouldn't argue with either one of them, But looking at the team this morning, to be honest though, there was none really jumping out at me. I thought it was a fair enough team. Naturally enough, is going to be dominated by the All-Ireland finalists. So you had 7 from Limerick, 5 from Kilkenny, which is probably true enough reflection. And I mean, the other 3 then were Conor Whelan. No complaints about him. I thought he had a fantastic season. Sorry, who the other 2?
Shane O'Donnell, yeah, and John Conlon.
Oh, and John Conlon, yeah. I mean, again, no complaints, but the 2 of them. And I suppose Clare getting to the semi-final, again this year probably deserve 1 or 2,
Can I just ask you, Seán Óg, can you believe, having played alongside him for as long as he did, that Tom Kenny finished his Cork career without an All-Star?
Ridiculous. Why he hasn't he didn't win an All-Star. Like definitely there was 1 or 2 years, you know, himself and Jerry O'Connor were out, they were arranging their own midfield, and you know, a lot of the attacks and a lot of the good work and grunt work, like, you know what I mean, kind of stem from Tom and Jerry. It baffles me to this day, and I suppose that's the flip side of the All-Star, I suppose, selection committee. Do you know what I mean? They don't get it right all the time. That's definitely one. Still to this day, it baffles me. But I don't want to. I don't want to dampen anyone that gets an All-Star, because basically, what you call it, they're not easy to get. But if you to ask Tom, what would he prefer, like two Celtic crosses or an All-Star, he wouldn't swap his 2 Celtic crosses. And then that ultimately is the reason why, when you get the call in November or December to get training for the season ahead, that is the ultimate goal. Like, you know, to walk up the steps of the Hogan stand, to be part of an All-Ireland winning team. That is the holy grail, you know, and everything else is secondary.
Can I ask you, Seán Óg, I mean, you're after spending 20 years working for the bank, and you recently changed to sustainable energy with business utility broker Procure.ie. What's that been like, and how crucial do you see this in terms of where we're going?
Yeah, so my career is after taking a pivot there. I've been in financial services for the last 20 years. Predominantly worked across all the main banks. I suppose my longest stint was with Ulster Bank for the last 18 years. Finished up with them there earlier on this year. So I took a bit of time off, and an opportunity arose to work with Procure.ie, which is in a different total, you know, sector, all like a different type of sector altogether. I suppose the key driving reasons for me going down another different route is I had enough of financial services. After about 22 years, I just had enough, and there were opportunities to, you know, remain in financial services. But I'm 46 years of age. I decided, look, now's the time for me to just go different routine, like do something total different altogether, and probably challenge myself in a different way. And if I didn't do it now, it'd be harder to do that change in your, I suppose, 50s, mid 50s. Yeah. So look, like the area that I'm in, or Procure.ie, the space that we're in the energy, I suppose, sector is, we try and source the best electricity or gas rates for businesses only. Okay. So that would be your, like, anything stemming from your small, medium-sized business to someone running a coffee shop or a hair salon to your corporate-sized business. Yeah. And you're just sitting down with them, and you're reviewing their electricity and gas bills, and you're seeing what they're being charged by the energy provider, and you're trying to look at it and see if they're getting best buck for value off their energy provider. If not, you could come with options for them to switch to another energy provider, saving them. I mean, it varies, like, you know, but like you could save, like a business or a customer, nearly up to 40% of their bill, you know. So I suppose in today's environment, where cost is becoming a huge issue now for, I mean, like businesses and normal people, domestic people like ourselves, you know, trying to run a household, paying mortgages and electricity and the other bills, I would have said every euro, but nearly every penny now counts, you know, these days. So but look, my slight advantage, I suppose, like, even though it is a new career and a new sector for me, and I'm still learning as we speak, and you learn, you know, you continue learning off the hoof. I suppose that's the best experience, you know. Bit like training, you don't really learn something until you try it and go through it and learn from the mistakes, you know. Like, you could be studying stuff till the cows come home, but unless you try it and do it, that's where the real learning and experience stems from. So sorry, I'm after losing my trail of thought and that, but
well, do you know what I was going to ask you, Seán Óg? Have you ever thought about a further change of career whereby you do what your brother did to Tanta and go on to Hell Week?
Look at that crazy man. I enjoyed him making a big embarrassment of himself, but to be fair, I mean, over the couple of weeks that was run, do you know the way you get a person, say, on TV, and they're totally different when you meet him in real life. He's exactly that same person that you meet in real life. What you see is what you get. Doesn't take himself too seriously, always up for crack and fun. When you poke the bear a small bit, which I think Donovan, the boxer, did he poke him up a small bit?
Eric, he did, yeah.
He did. I think he called him out to say, remember, they had to get around in a circle, and the DS was saying, who do you think is not going to make it? And I can't think of his first name, but Donovan is his surname. He's
Eric.
Killer, isn't he?
Eric,
is it? Eric?
Yeah.
Eric says, number 7 DS. And yeah, you can see something snapping in his mind. So that's why in his head, I think the following day was at the mountain challenge, like, whether he was gonna die in exhaustion doing it, but to prove to himself and everyone, he had to win that. He had to be the first guy on top of the mountain. And that wherein lies his I suppose for all his fun and jokes and his light nature, he is a competitive animal deep down inside. Do you know what I mean? Mightn't show it, but when he is challenged and forced in the corner, he is as vicious as it comes. Like, kind of to the extent where if someone said, "Okay, well, describe that to me," well, if you were in a crawl with him and you went into the lift and you were to go to, say, the 80th floor, just you and Satanta in that lift, and one guy had to come out by the time you reach the 80th floor, there's only one fella coming out of that, and that's him. That's how vicious he can be when put in that. I suppose when put in that situation, but yeah, I wouldn't say he enjoyed it fully, but it was a good way for him to come back home initially to do that. But I suppose the main reason why he availed of it, because it was all expenses paid trip home, really, to visit family, because the reality is, like, he's been away from Cork for the last 20 years. Like, it's actually around this time 20 years ago when he went for a trial with Carlton Football Club. And since then, I know he's been home, but, like, really, that was the last of Cork and Ireland as he knew it, when he went to Australia. But he's been living in Hawaii for the last 6 years, married to his wife, Uwe, and we rarely get to see him. So it was a great chance for him to catch up with the family, but he knew there's no such thing as a free lunch, is there? Or like he knew he had to do a bit of work for it, and he knew it would be hard, but he didn't think it was going to be that hard,
Would you do it yourself?
What's that? Would I do it myself?
Yeah.
I'd have a go off it, but he said the two things that I suppose differentiate what's the word I'm looking for? applicants or entries, like making it onto the next day or making it to the very finish, is being able to cope with the lack of sleep and grub. Lack of sleep, I'd be able to get by, but grub, if I don't get my grub in, I'm a dead duck. I'm kind of like, he says, you're given very little food, you know, and you're asked to do activities for the day, like where you're burning like nearly 5,000 calories, you know. So, but I suppose that's all part of the makeup, really. Like, you're not intentionally trying to get people to tap out and say, look, I'm gone, like, you know. But
Jeez, I'd be in awful form. Yeah, jeez, the food would kill me. I wouldn't mind the sleep now. The food would kill me. You'd be going around in woeful form.
Yeah, I'd be along with you on that, Michael. Yeah, yeah. Oh, kind of. Yeah, if I don't get if I don't get a proper breakfast in for the day, I'm done. Like, you know.
Can I ask you, Seán Óg? I've been down in Ger Hartman's a good few times, and the famous picture of yourself,
great guy, boy. Yeah,
all oiled up and all sweated up with the medicine ball in the hands. It's done the rounds a lot. But I'm just thinking, you trained like very, very hard back in the day. You were, you know, professional probably before professionalism was probably talked about in the GA. Where do you think intercounty training is at now, and the levels they're at now? And is the environment, the current environment, there's the great picture, is the current environment, is that one you'd love to be in now? Because I'd imagine you thrive in it.
Yeah, look, just to give you a bit of background to that, my upbringing wasn't in Ireland, it was in Sydney, Australia. So I came to Cork as an 11-year-old. So like I suppose my interests in sport were like kind of rugby league and Aussie rules, cricket. So they were all pros. So I was just used to looking at newspapers and looking at TV where those sports people, like, they train full time, you know, kind of, and like, you were just used to looking at your sports idols or sports teams, and they were ripped guys, like, you know, this was back in the 80s, yeah. They were just like in great nick, and you just from I suppose from an age you got an understanding like that there were certain standards, do you know what I mean, if you wanted to go down this career path. And that's, as a young kid, that's all I ever dreamt of, do you know what I mean, to be a Canary Bulldogs rugby league player. And then you knew like there were certain standards that you had to, you know, run a kilometer in such a time and all that, you know, even at a very young age. So I suppose from that, when I came to Ireland, I tried to continue that, you know, as best I could. You know, you couldn't really do it in a, I suppose, team environment, because basically that was dictated by, you know, like the coaches like that you would have had. But definitely in my own time, yeah, I probably would have done stuff myself, you know, which to me was normal. You know, I didn't see anything wrong with it. You know, other people might have seen that as freakish. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, I'm glad to know now, when you look at the intercounty players and you're looking like stuff that, and I wouldn't solely put it down to me. I can name other people that I would have played with Cork, and I would have known other people that I would have played against, you know, and the reason why they got exceptional careers out of themselves, it wasn't so much what they did with the team, but it was the training they did themselves, you know, kind of, which propelled them into the, you know, the superstars that they were. But no, that's like, that's a non-negotiable now, you know, even though 20 years ago would have been seen as you're not normal, you know, there's something wrong with you. But like, it's normal. No, it's non-negotiable. If you're not doing it, you're just not at, I mean, you're just not at the winning table, really, like, you know, kind of. And I mean, I'm looking at, say, the Cork players or any other intercounty player. No, I mean, you could even see their body physiques much different to, you know, players like the players during my time. And
some of your boys were coming back with arses on them in the winter, like back in the day.
Yeah,
It's amazing
yeah,
how it's changed.
yeah.
Like, come here, I just wanted to throw on quickly at you, Seán Óg, there when you said about some freakish things that you were doing. Like, what was the freakiest kind of thing that you did that you would have maybe taken a bit of stick over? Like, were you out running? Were you out running the morning after winning an All-Ireland final? I remember someone telling me. Like, would you got much abuse, many funny looks, stuff like that?
Well, funny enough, right? I probably have to come clean in that story, right? Because basically, what you call it, that story has grown arms, legs, you name it. So that was after the 2005 All-Ireland final. So you can imagine, when you say after winning an All-Ireland final, like that night goes into the early hours of the morning. Like there's no sleep. Everyone is on a high, rightly so. Everyone is in party mood. So me being the captain that year, I kind of realized that I needed to freshen up and get my wits together because, you know, as captain, you have a few duties with, you know, interviews, and then I was conscious, like, the trip back home to Cork, you know, meeting the fans and supporters and being asked by local media, you just needed your wits about you. So I needed a bit of time out from the hotel. So I just threw on a pair of togs and a top, and it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. And I went for I went for a walk. So we would have camped ourselves at the Burlington Hotel in Ballsbridge. So there would have been a walk that some of the players we would have done on the Saturday when we arrived up to the Burlington to kill time. So I started walking, but it was very cold that morning. So by the time I reached the US Embassy down in Ballsbridge, to keep myself warmer, I started to just trot back past Herbert Park and then ended up back. So when I came in, then a lot of people saw me in, say, training gear, would assume that I went out for a run. It wasn't. It was 3/4 of it was a walk, and it was a run. But it wasn't recovery, or it wasn't to take the piss, or it wasn't like, do you know what I mean? It was just to get headspace away from the craziness of the night before, knowing the long day ahead, going out to, you know, Crumlin Hospital and other engagements that you needed. I needed my wits about me, and I needed to clear my head, and then that's the reason why I did it. But like as years went on, like, I mean, rumors were coming around that I had jogged out to Dunleary Pier and back, like, which is bullshit, like, you know, which is bullshit, like, you know. But like back to your question, crazy stuff that I would have done. I would have prided myself doing stuff, say, around especially around Christmas time, where, you know, people were tucking into turkey, ham, mince pies, kind of having a few pints, and I would have prided myself kind of being very strict during those times, thinking that, you know, I gained an advantage over, you know, over the other competitors. But it was short-lived when you start meeting the guys in the black and amber jerseys and the blue and gold at Tipperary. But who's that, Sambo? How are you, boy?
Hey, Seán Óg, how's it going?
Good, boy. How's things in the Glens? Yeah, likewise, boy. Well done in the shinty.
Yeah, Jimmy Cunn's still wearing your coat.
Is he?
Yeah.
Ah, very good. He's good taste, boy. He's good taste.
Yeah. These guys haven't a clue what we're on about.
No, not really. No.
Fill us in, Sambo.
Huh?
Fill us in.
No, there's a local guy here in the club's a massive Cork supporter. He would do your head in with Cork, like, and he would go to watch Cork rather than go to watch Antrim. But anyway, I became, Seán Óg come up to present medals with me one day for the kids, and not there, but he was, and I got a jacket off him and give it to Jimmy Cunn, and he's been wearing it now 20 years. No, I'll tell you a quick story about Seán Óg. We did Seán Óg up and the wife made dinner and she asked him what he liked and out there, and he didn't like this and he didn't like that, he wouldn't eat that. Neil McManus and Shane, them were all kids and they were getting chips, and Seán Óg told him he hasn't had a chip in 10 years or something. They found this amazing.
And it's great. I know, like, you look at Neil McManus, right, and the career that he's had. Like, I remember him as a teenager going up. So it was 20 years ago, actually. It was around this time 20 years ago, Sambo. I remember the first time you brought me up to Cushionnall. It was 20 years ago. And Neil and then your son, Shane, like, I mean, they were late teenagers, like, you know, and even to see how their careers ended up, do you know what I mean? And it was great to see. But
Jimmy's still supporting Cork.
And it's funny. Look, this is my love of the Glens of Antrim. Do you know what I mean? And the people who keep the game of hurling kind of alive and well up there. So one of the finals that we played, we went back to the hotel, the Anno Hotel, which is in Thurles. So there were Cork supporters around naturally. So I see 3 guys with Cork jerseys on them, and they're passing by and they say, "Well done, Seán Óg," in an Antrim accent. So I says, "Lads, you're definitely not from Cork. Kind of, we're in the country." And they said, "Look, we're from Cushionnall and Antrim." And I said, "Geez, what's the story with the Cork jerseys?" And they said, "Look, we adopt the county when Antrim, do you know what I mean, kind of outside of Antrim." And the 3 lads, one of them was Jamie Quinn that Sambo was referring to. They follow Cork, and then I suppose since that moment and after meeting them up in Cork, they would come down to Cork most summers, hook up where I'd catch up with them. And I haven't been up there, but there was a time when I used to go up there once every 2-3 years, and then I'd go up to Cushionnall and meet up with them. Like, and it's and then the common denominator is it's nothing else but the love of the hurling, the game of hurling.
Isn't that what the GA is all about?
Oh, absolutely, Michael. Absolutely, Michael. I embrace and endorse it fully. And I know at times there when you're a player and you're so fixated on winning for your county, but when you look at the bigger picture, and I see it more vividly now, being retired now 10 years, every year that passes by, I see the bigger picture, what the GA does to all of the GA community around, you know, around the country and worldwide as well. You know, it's a great way of connecting with people, and it's a great interest, and then long may that continue. You know,
I might just bring up just one final question for you, Seán Óg, before we let you go. You've been great with your time, and Sambo, you might follow it up then. But Seán Óg, you know, your involvement with Cork these days, coaching and so on and so forth. Are Cork that far away? And can you just tell me what sort of work is going on at minor level and so on to try and bring Cork on?
Okay, Cork that far away? And no is the answer. They're not that far away in my view. They probably need to fill a few positions. I suppose the key area for me, and then when you're looking at who you're trying to beat, which is a team like Limerick, you know, it's trying to come up with a half forward line, you know, along the likes of the half forward line that Kilkenny would have had, do you know what I mean, during 2006 and 11, where under pressure, your outlier, your outlier ball is a long ball on top of your half forward line. You know, and a half forward line that can, if not win primary possession, but get the ball to the ground and then lock it down on the ground where it gives your midfielders, the smaller guys, to come in on the breaks. You know, I think no team has been able to, over the last few years, when the pressure has really come on, and when Limerick squeeze up and the short puck outs, you know, and the opposition short puck outs, and when the goalkeepers are forced to go longer, that's where teams struggle against Limerick and their half back line. If Cork can, is there a half forward line in Cork to do that? Probably not at the moment. You might. I mean, the key guy for Cork in that line has been Robbie Flynn. But the problem with Robbie Flynn, he hasn't been able to keep himself playing in the park too long. Do you know what I mean? I mean, last year he picked up a hamstring injury, missed most of last year. He was a huge loss. So look, that's so that's one area. I'm sure Pat Ryan and his backroom team will be feverishly looking at that over the winter to try and come up with a combination, you know, how to do that. Harnady's another ideal guy there, but like I'd rather see Harnady maybe 10 years younger. Do you know what I mean? Kind of going into that position now, he is like kind of years clocked up, which he won't get back. But when you peel underneath, Shane, what's been going on the last few years, we've become more competitive, I suppose, at underage level because basically what you call it, there's a good solid foundation put in, like in terms of strength and conditioning now, which wasn't there 10, 15 years ago. I suppose the first telltale for Cork, where we struggled for a good number of years, was our breeding ground for players was secondary school level and winning Harty Cups. And that dried up for about 15 years in Cork. Okay. So traditionally you would have schools like the school I went to, the Knott Monastery, we would have won Harty Cups. Farr and Ferris, who were neighbours next door, they no longer exist. That school closed. St. Coleman's, Fermoy, Middleton, CBS. They were the main key ones. Charles, CBS, every now and then would come, you know, would produce good players. So that was a strong base for a good number of years. But then when success dried down there, that's where we struggle, and that was the correlation really. So I suppose with not a strong school network there at the time, I mean, that's been filled with, I suppose, development squads and getting guys kind of in at a very young age at 14, 15. I mean, not putting bulk on players, but just giving them a platform and a template, do you know what I mean, kind of to get stronger. Another move that Rebel Óg did was, and which my view has been working well, is so a management team was given, they were given an under 15 team to work with, and you were given a 2 or 3 year cycle with that team to work with up to minor level, and you stay with them up to minor level. So you had 2 to 3 years to search all over the county, do you know what I mean, to get the 15 or 24 best players around the country, where in the past you would have got management teams, they would have been given a minor team just for that year, and a year might seem long, but when you break down that year, like, it's realistically only about 5 or 6 months. You know, so I mean, you'll always get a couple of players falling through the gap that way. Do you know what I mean? That you're not going to pick up. So that's been another welcome change. And like, I suppose another thing that has happened, say, I suppose, under Kevin O'Donovan's watch. I'm not saying it didn't happen under Frank Murphy's watch when Frank was the secretary of the Cork County Board, but there are probably more and more past players now getting involved with teams. You know, so like you had Fraggy involved with the minors. He was the minor manager this year. I was giving him a hand. The the minor setup coming up next year. You have Sean McGrath, who would have played with Glen Rovers. He's Glen Rovers and Cork. He's involved next year. In 2 years' time, you'll have Fergal McCormack, who's the centre forward on the 99 All-Ireland winning team. He's with the 16s next year. He'll be working with them up to minor level when they're 17. You have Ben O'Connor now with a great ticket with Ronan Curran and Anthony Nash involved, the other Cork 20. So so when you mix all of that, it's been going relatively okay underage. I suppose the key now is to try and turn that into, I suppose, turning all of that now into senior titles, which is another day's work and an easier said than done. But I'd rather be working off teams that are coming through good underage successful years. Do you know what I mean? Kind of where they're and then, I mean, Sambo would concur with this, like, mentally, like, whatever about anything else, but mentally, if you've won it and done it, regardless of what age, mentally, that has a huge advantage to you. Do you know what I mean? Kind of as a hurler, as a person, and like, you don't lose that. That'll stay with you. So if we can get guys through the system where mentally they've won All Irelands, do you know, I know, albeit at underage, I mean, you have a great foundation to work off, when they're coming and trying to break through at adult level, where there was a period there, say, in Oak County, where we had teams that they couldn't even beat. If Azerbaijan were in the championship, they wouldn't beat Azerbaijan. I mean, that was the reality for us there for a period. We couldn't win an argument, like, do you know what I mean? So the lack of confidence that feeds into players, do you know what I mean? And you're asking these players then at senior level, within a flick of a light switch, to turn it on and win it, like, where I prefer it the way it's been happening at the moment, like, and that's all well and good, lads, but when you're representing Cork, people they expect you to win yesterday. And that's like I'm making great valid points there, but unless we win it next year, it'll be just another year of failure, like, And then Pat Ryan knows that in the management team. Like, they absolutely, like, they know non-negotiable. They have to be one of the three teams coming out of Munster next year, Like,
yeah, no, the rebels are definitely coming, but as you say, expectations are high. But Seán Óg, you've been brilliant with your time today. Thanks very much, and no doubt we'll talk down the road fairly soon again. Thanks a million.
Sound job, lads. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Dan. Sambo, talk to you soon. Be good.
Cheers,
Seán
Seán
Óg.
Óg.
You're more than welcome to the Glens.
It's a nice trip. It's gas, Sambo, that you align yourselves to the county that's geographically the furthest away from me.
Yeah, but they are called the Rebel County.
That's true. That's very true. That's very true.
No, we have guys from the club here that would Folly, Kilkenny and different clubs. Now, when you're not one in the thing, you kind of attach yourself to your second county and that there. But Jimmy and the boys, they kind of go to the extreme of it. Like, they would go to Cork match. If Antrim was playing, they'd still go to the Cork match, which doesn't sit very well with me, but that's an argument for another day.
Would you slightly turn the screen to get your face to the centre of the screen there? But
perfect.
A question I was going to ask you then, let's just jump into what's going on this weekend. Cushendall are taking on Portaferry. If you're to be concerned about Portaferry, where exactly should Cushendall be mindful of?
Yeah, well, I was at the down final. It was maybe not the top class hurling match, not there, conditions not there, but it was a very, very exciting game. Young Sams are dangerous in the corner, young McGrath, people like that. TC plays a good game for him and out there, but like I presume we're going in kind of slight favourites and out there, but we'll have to improve a bit than we did in the county final. A few of our established players kind of had an off day. Like, though McManus won a lot of balls, his shooting boots weren't on. I think he had 9 wides or something, didn't score from play. like, we kind of stuttered over the county final with the game one, let them back in it. We can't afford to do that with Portaferry, like, and hopefully we won't, because whoever wins on Sunday will have to improve on what they're doing to stop nails written in the long grass for us, like. So us or Portaferry.
You're muted, Shane.
Where have Cushendall impressed you this year? Like, any players in particular that have stepped up that hadn't previously? Some young lads coming.
Yeah, Liam Gillen, a full back, Shane. He's like, a couple of years ago, I was kind of worried about him. Was he going to make it or not? He's turned into a smashing full back, and he's improved beyond. He's improved another 50%. Like, he's come really good. We've introduced a young lad, Joe McLaughlin, 18. I had him minors and that right up through. Very, very talented kid, really good. Like, scored 3 goals in the semi-final and that there. He's a finisher, like, though he's very young, but like, he's definitely a plus for us this season. Our goalkeeper has come on leaps and bounds in his short pop-out game, very in his game, and he was probably our unsung hero in the county final. But we have still the Stars and McManus, the Burks and Campbells and that there. But our teams really were a better team this year than we were last year because of the likes of young Liam Gillen, McCallum goals, young McLaughlin, people like that there. But we've lost a guy now. He's away. He's gone to Canada, teaching skiing, believe it or not. But he's a loss. Niall McCormick's gone, but and he was good for us this year. And he's more of a loss than we would care to admit, I think.
Sambo, quick one for you. Paddy Burke is one of your most important players, and I know Neil McManus was fairly put out that he didn't get nominated for an All-Star this year. He said it was an absolute joke, just based on how he kept Owen Cody quiet in the Leinster Championship and that. Just talk to me a bit about him, how good he is, what he brings to the table. Maybe, and the greater hurling public maybe aren't seeing enough of him as they should be.
Yeah, to me, Paddy Burke's as good a defenders in the country. Like, I can go back to the last time the Railway Cup was played. I know it's the Railway Cup, I know that there, but I put him full back on Seamus Callan and held Seamus Callan scored that night, which wasn't an easy feat because Seamus Callan was in his prime at that time.
Yeah, but Shane wouldn't like that now, Sambo. He's big Shamie Callan man. Shamie Callan man.
No, but Paddy's been Antrim's best hurler 4 or 5 years now. Never puts a foot wrong, scoring and out there. For club level, he's our most important player now in the club. And I say that when Lee McManus is in the field too, like, and out there. You know, I'm a big fan of Lee McManus, but Paddy Burke's took on that mantle of a real leader. And as a defender, he does all them things a defender wants. He can catch a ball, he can shield a ball, he can kill a ball, he can hook, he can block. Do all them out-facing things where the defender used to have to do, like defend. He's really good at that. But even off the field, he's passing the baton on, if you sort of thing, like he's making sure young lads put in the effort. He's a leader. You can hear him at training, like he wouldn't be behind the door giving you a bollocking if you weren't putting the effort in. Like, but as far as Antrim boys, I think he's the best defender in Ulster by a country mile, and I would argue that in any company anywhere and out there, and he's easy in the top 10 defenders in Ireland, easily, because he when Antrim is playing in that league now, he always is the go-to guy to mark their big players, and out there, the Owen Cody's this world, and to arguably get the better of Owen Cody in any day is an achievement in the form he's in. Like, you see today, Owen Cody's corner forward in an All-Star team, so like, I think I would have put him ahead of McManus this year if I've been totally honest about nominating for an All-Star. Paddy Burke was a bigger shame, I think. In terms of Portaferry this weekend, it's not just the Sands brothers, and maybe Dahi Sands will be picked up by Paddy Burke. You never know if he's doing a bit of damage. But is there more to the team than just the Sands brothers? Oh yeah, there is, surely. Portaferry is a good, honest team, a good, honest club team, but not on the door. even last year, though against Loughnane last year, they were very disappointed. They looked like a team was happy to win the county final, you know, that sort of way, and Ulster not there. But no, there's a hell of a lot more to the Portaferry team. Like, you know, they have a few injuries themselves, and young Malin and that there, but I don't know. Like I think if we're going to go on and forward, and we hope to, and obviously Portaferry will too. They got there. Like the game's at 4 o'clock on a Sunday. We're going to start off in daylight and finish off in floodlights, which is not ideal for a hurler and any stretch of imagination. Why it couldn't be another hour forward, I don't know. I know there's a Camogie match on before it could, but it could have went an hour earlier too. But no, this Cushendall team is a habit of, you know, letting other teams get at you. When the match is won, it's kind of, I don't know, it frustrates me at times as a supporter. Like this year's county final, boys, was like we've won 15, 16, I think, and that there. And arguably, it was the best one I've ever part of the club, and I've been there for them all. And that there, it was just such a relief to get over the line because we had troubles in the past and that there, and this turned the corner, and the likes of, you know, we needed this because I guess is the first year we're going to have to join with a neighbouring club at juvenile level because we just don't have the numbers anymore. And the conveyor belt, what Seán Óg was talking about there in Cork, that conveyor belt, if we don't make a breakthrough this year and that there, I would kind of worry for us going on in the future. Well, hopefully not, because we've won the last two failures, but you know, you might just get as many out of them out of a good team as you do out of a bad team, you know, so we don't know. But no, this championship was so much important for the community, and the atmosphere was absolutely, it was the best homecoming ever I seen. Fireworks, all that there, and I don't know, it just seemed special. And I've been involved in, out of the 15 or something, I've been involved in 12, 13 of them, but this was one that had nothing to do with it, and it was absolutely fantastic, just pure class for the community. And anybody's won a county title knows what that's feel, but this felt like almost the first one again.
What did it mean, Sambo, to honour wee John McKillop as well, like a legendary figure known up and down the country, and obviously your biggest supporter?
Yeah, well, that was special for me. Like the fact that John was my best friend from my whole life, and it was the first one he wasn't there, and that's kind of what it meant by, you know, the troubles we had in the past. And there was other things went on too in the past where the club was kind of split and different things through things that wasn't the fault of the club, and it seemed like turning the corner. But John was absolutely, like, I honestly thought the day where we were laying John to rest, like, if there was every year to win it, it has to be this year. It has to be this year. And whenever the tussle went and James would not miss that free, like, you know, it was such a, somebody letting the air out of the balloon, it was such a relief. And the fact we, John, you know, the fact that Neil and Paddy and them spoke about him was special. Like John will always be part of our club and a very, very special character for hurling and Cushendall and Antrim and Far and Wide. Like, everybody knew John. Special. Very special.
And when you saw how far Dunloy got last year, getting all the way to the All-Ireland final, does it make you dare to dream as a Cushendall man now? Yeah,
because you never know. Like every year's different. All the years I won county titles, we come up against great teams, and then you would think, you know, and all the years maybe we should have won and done better and out there. Like, I never won a semi-final, but we played against teams. If we were playing tonight, we wouldn't have beat them. Like that Middleton team there with Fentons and all them. I think there was something like 7 All-Stars on it, and plus Colin O'Neill and All-Star football or different teams. But there was teams that we should have beat, like, you know, like St. Joseph's Dur Burfield, we drew with them, then they beat us with a point in the replay, and there's very up thing, Wolf Tones, Clare 2, Buffers Alley at Wexford, Tony Dorn, like we should have been cuter along the line and different things down through the years. Looking back on it now, when you do get experience, you realise how you could have nullified that one threat and different things. Like the good Bird team, you know, were probably a better team than us, but you do dream, and you never know what's going to come. And, like, you know, we're going to play Leinster this year, whoever wins Ulster, but like we can't look any further in Portaferry, and that's the reality of it. We haven't earned the right to, and not there. But if he did go on, he did win Ulster, like Slough-Neil, like I watched Slough-Neil, I'm not sure, maybe 5 years ago in Park Esler against Ballyhale, and they had Ballyhale bit only for TJ. TJ gave a wee chip of a line ball over a boy's head at 5 yards. Like normal hurler wouldn't even have tried it, and it came off like. And like them special players that do that one wee thing in the game, it turns the game. Like Slough-Neil at Ballyhale on the rack that day, and that was Colin Fennelly at a peak, TJ at a peak, you know, Mullen, all them, you know, and you know, and I'm sure Slough-Neil's sitting there. I know they're doing a lot of challenge games over the border, and that there. Like all due respect, they probably came through Derry without much hassle. Like they knew they were going to win Derry, so they'll be geared up for this now, and they'll be waiting on whatever one of us come through.
Can I just ask you, Sambo? I was at the Gaelic Writers Awards the other night, and you were honoured as Hurling Personality of the Year. How much does that mean to you?
I wasn't Hurling
Hall of Fame. Sorry, Hall of Fame.
No. Well, you kind of stole the show that night coming in with your haircut after last week. Was that because you were sitting beside the mighty hard powers of RTE and not there? You were looking at a job at RTE or something?
Definitely not. There's less jobs going in RTE, Sambo, at the minute, not more jobs.
No, boys, like you can do the line and out there, but if you're inducted into the Hall of Fame for Tiddlywinks, it's an honour. Like, let's be honest, like it's nice to be recognised, it's nice to be out there, but as I said in the night, the MG writers, like I go back to Martin Breffney was there and Vincent Hogan. I even go back farther, not to Paddy Downey various times. Anyway, they always betrayed me. I made the point the other night. They always try to betray me, I feel, like the Rocky character in the movie. You know, going up against Apollo Creed, and if Tipperary was Apollo Creed, Nicholas English, but in the real world, Apollo Creed beat the shit out of Rocky. You know, and it's an honour. Like I love it. Even you are talking there about the All Stars today. Like I go back when I was nominated for an All Star a few times. I think it was 2 years in a row. I was up against DJ Carey and Nicholas English. There was more chance of me getting a perm as getting an All Star. You know, but it is an honour. It's an honour to be thought in that right. And you get to this age in your life, and I've been crying about Ulster Hurling for 40 years now. Neil McManus phoned me last night and he asked me to do a thing for him, and he says, we were Slimmy Tony, he says, we made a point, he says, I've been going on about it about 10 years and you've been going on about it for 40 years. And that's true, like we're both, like, I'm like a stop record going on about it, but no, to answer your question, Michael, it was an absolute honour to be in the company of all them people that graced the field. Like even I was in Galway Wednesday night and I was in a health well-being thing, and the guy running was Iggy Clark, and I made my championship debut against him as a child. Like whenever Antrim won the B All-Ireland, you played Galway in the quarter-final All-Ireland. That great team of John Conley, Joe Conley, and Noel Lane, Bernie Ford, Sean Silk, and Iggy Clark, and them, and me and him were just having a conversation and that there. But even the grace of field with some of them players in the day, it's an honour. Like to come from Cushendall, where I played in our first county title. We didn't produce county players that much. You know, Danny McNaughton was one of the first ones to start it off and out there. Like my first memory of this club is in a junior B final, and we got beat. You know, and then within about 4 or 5 years, everything changed. And then I played in the team, and like I remember, I tell this story. There was a psychologist, Greg Mahoney, was with Derry and that there, and this Australian guy, and Nelson thought it a good idea, was way forward thinking, this sports psychologist, and he told me, he took me and he says, when you go to Croke Park, I want you to grab a bag full of soil, a handful of soil, put it in a bag of your own ground, where you run onto Croke Park, scatter it out onto the ground and say, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home. And I was looking at him like, what are you talking about? You know, I was actually, I says, why would I do that? He says, because then you can believe you're hurling your own ground. He says, I hurl my own ground every week. I want to play in Croke Park. Like, I dream of playing in Croke Park. I dreamt of playing an All-Ireland final. I dreamt of being an All-Star, so. Looking back on my career, though I never got the Holy Grail and that ultimate respect that you get when you won that, but I've had a very, very good career and a lot of enjoyment, and people like Seán Óg there, with friends throughout the country, and that's the important thing. As Seán Óg says, when you get older and you wisely look back, that is the most important thing. And I had friends in that room that night, like Vincent Hogan and people like that there from years and years ago. I mean, 30 years ago, before you pair of boys were heard of.
We're still not heard of. Sambo, can I ask you, have you had much of a reaction in terms of the thing that, us among others talked about last week, the Lorry Maher and the ring fencing of maybe 5 counties that don't have 5+ adult hurling teams, that they'd have no league and they'd just be ring fenced into Lorry Maher. What sort of reaction have you seen?
Well, from the hurling fraternity in Ulster, it's unanimous. It's scandalous. It's worrying. I find it worrying because I'm old enough and experienced enough to know that these things don't happen by accident. That's somebody feeling the waters. That's maybe a county board somewhere thinking the football raises all the money, and look at the money we could save and put football if we hadn't hurling, and that's where that's coming from, boys. Be under no illusion. That's somebody feeling the waters and giving it to CCC to leak out, to see what people think, to see if there's a vehicle for it and that there. It's worrying. It's scandalous. It's like if the GA want to save money, give me 10 minutes. I could show them a lot of ways to save money rather than stop people playing the game. Like I had a phone call last night from a Fermanagh hurler who I coached with and heard with St. with me, but I'll give you a wee quick snippet. About 5, 6, 7 years ago, I went down to Ballygunner to help coach a group of kids that were starting a new club. They have every age group now, and they played this year for the first time in junior. That's Ballygunner. And Fermanagh have now 9 juvenile clubs, and that's all people that are helping, doing the work themselves. And you ask these people, are you getting any help from Ulster Council, or are you this here? And they always know, it's always the same. And the one thing that I find the powers to be at, they'll never, and I've said this 1,000 times, they never give you a roadblock. They give you a diversion. So they do this, so you lose. Like Martin Fogarty last week, we made the point that you lose the will to live dealing with this at times and just quit because it's a waste of time. I can tell you here now, boys, that wasn't done by accident. That's thought out through and that there. That's somebody trying to feel the water to see what this passed, because be under no illusion, the biggest problem in Ulster hurling always has been, and I am going to get dog's abuse for this. Twitter's going to light up. I'm going to get I don't do Facebook and that, but they're going to say the biggest problem to Ulster hurling, or hurling in general, football, it's the elephant in the room. Onto the day that Ulster hurling people take charge of hurling, we're going nowhere. Like, if they want to waste money, like Belfast, we've over 30 years, coaches and schools and all this here. Belfast hurling has got worse and worse in every year. Like, there's one of all the hurling competitions played in Antrim this year at every age level, B, C's, I think Belfast has won one competition, junior B, Ardoyne. I think that's only won the one. There hasn't been, like, there's senior clubs in Belfast, hasn't a minor team in 13 years, and we're spending fortunes on it. But the hurling people told them how to shove it, but nobody paid any heed, nobody listens. And we're putting a lot of pressure on Jarlath Burns. We hope that he's going to maybe do something. The fact that Martin Fogarty hasn't been reappointed his job, that says everything. Like, let's be realistic about it. And I know you are in a position where you are trying to do your best, but be under no illusion, boys, that wasn't done by accident. That's somebody feeding the water, and that's somebody, because there's no doubt that football is, if you're sitting in Cavan County Board, for example, the majority of the football money that's raised is coming from football background, and that there, and they can see it and they can watch it. And if you're a football person, more power to your way, and you see the money that's costing to promote this team, and realistic, they're not going to shake the world up. They're not doing that there, the rules, but they should be investing more into the county. juveniles and out there. But that's a whole different podcast. And this podcast the last few years, I mean, like, it's not that I'm just saying I have ideas of my own. If you're hurting people around a table, somebody will come up with a good idea. Yeah, that will work, or try it or something. But what we're doing at the minute, like the GA has to look at itself really. Like who's going to win the All-Ireland next year? Who's going to compete for it? We know. Like who's going to do it in 10 years' time? Who was doing it 20 years ago? It's the same kind of, and nobody ever does anything. Nobody grabs a bull by the horn and say, listen, what we're doing is not working. Let's try something different and really try and promote, because, and I know I get abuse for this too, hurling is such, like if the GA's got 4 products between camogie, ladies football, men's football, or many products they have, hurling is without doubt the special one. It is the special one. It's the one that you can bring an outsider from Amazon jungle and he'll see it and he'll love it. You bring an American, you bring anything, and even 99% of dual players, the great dual players down through the Seán Ógs of this world, like hurling's our first love. Everywhere you go, like, you know, not there. And I'm not knocking football. I'm not. This is not us and them. But you can't have football people in charge of another sport, because that's what happened. There's people in them counties that are passionate about their football and more to them, but they're now making the decision promote hurling. Like the town league. I remember maybe 15 years ago, the town league that Martin Fogarty was talking about, the cross county. We wanted the county boards to give us one night where clubs weren't allowed to leave fixture football matches and go against the hurling, and we couldn't get it. We couldn't get one night in a week. We asked them to give us one night, and we would sort the league out for that night so that they can tell the clubs in the county, you're not allowed to organise a challenge match or training for football on this night. This is a designated night for hurling and hurling only. Couldn't get it. Couldn't get one night. Not one night. You know, and that's the reality. Like myself and Woody ran an indoor for during the winter for all the weaker teams with 28 teams playing, 9 aside. No off the walls, boys. Speeding up your hurling, really aggressive, goals only. Brilliant game to watch with 28 teams going. We done the fun. We get the venues not there. Ulster Council took it over the next year and made an absolute balls of it. Ruined it. And that's the reality. And you can call it what you want, and like I'll probably not get much. I'm not getting 2 free tickets for All-Ireland off them, but that's just the life of it. You know, and we keep saying that, but nothing happens. Like there's people have good ideas how to run, but them 9 juvenile clubs in Fermanagh and Ballygunner are an extent. Once you see a kid pick a ball and you see a smile on his face, hurling, we know it's a harder game to coach, but once you have people that are passionate, and believe it, there's people in Cavan, there's people in Fermanagh as passionate about the game as I am, or you are, or anybody else is, and they're not getting a fair crack of the whoop, and that's the bottom line. You can call it what you want, but until hurling people do something about it, unite, take charge of our own. I don't know what we can do. It's above my pay grade, but I've been flying this flag and battering this drum now 40 years, and I've brainwashed people like McManus and Miguel or Paddy Burke and up there. Because now McManus is like Sambo 30 years ago. He's coming out with the same bullshit. He's coming out with the same stuff because I've been brainwashed. It's like when you get into my back bar in the bar and you see our minor team coming in the live coach, they all play Bruce Springsteen because I had them all brainwashed about Springsteen, and I've them all brainwashed again about Ulster hurling. Like
just Shane, on Sambo's point there, and I know this for a fact because I've been, chatting to various people. Like this proposal that came out is largely coming from county boards, those 5 county boards, and lads can talk out both sides of their mouth if they want, and there's a lot of that going on because when it came back that players railed against this, a lot of people kind of reined it in and were like, oh no, we were misinterpreted or whatever. But that is where predominantly this proposal is coming from. It's a county board cost-cutting procedure, and it's a way of putting costs elsewhere. And it really, in those 5 counties, it's towards football, and that's the nature of it. It's come out through the CCC, but that is the nature of it, and that's the long and short of it.
Anybody that thinks anything different is delusional. This came from county board members, and they have a contact in the CCC, and that's feeling water. This has been done 1,000 times and not there. But the problem is, this is not the end of it. They'll find, and the problem is, like, where was it? Like, maybe I'm missing something. did the Ulster Council come out and not go mad about this? You know, should that not be their place? We're promoting 2 games, are we not? We keep standing up and saying we're all one family, we're all this rosy, blah blah, patting each other in the back. Onto it affects football. Be under no illusion, boys. That came from county boards with a meeting the CCC, release that for us and see where this goes. We'll dip our toe in the water here and see if there's a big reaction this year. And that's what it is. And they don't worry about lunatics like me, Ganson. I've been Ganson for 30 years. Like, I'm like a stock record. They don't pay any heed to me, you know. But the only thing about social media and that there now, but I would love to see the Limerick hurlers come out and say, hold on a minute, or something like that. I'd love to see the GPA out strongly. No, where's the GPA in this?
Usual. They'll wait until the decision is made and then put out some mealy-mouthed statement or a survey released the day before the vote. Pointless.
Yeah, but that's going on, Seán. Like, this is only one, and this has gone on as years.
Yeah.
Is the GPA in this? Or where? Like, I was on the first players advisory committee in Croke Park back in the day, me and Scullion and that there, and it was designed to speak up for players. But surely, to Jesus, somebody needs to speak up for Manor hurlers and Calvin hurlers now. If there's, like, it's a form of bullying. Like I would love to see the Limerick hurlers or the Cork hurlers or the Kenny hurlers. Hold on a minute. Our brothers up in Fermanagh here are not been treated equal. This is our game. We'll stand by them. You know. But now you've got me in my egg box, Seán.
Oh, look, you're not the only one. We're hugely frustrated over it. And to be honest, like, when on earth is it going to build the game by cutting a group of players season and a half? I just don't see it. But
Seán, don't even go down that road. It was not about building the game. That's a smokescreen. That's bullshit. There's nobody with 2 white brain cells thinks stop playing game is promoting the game. That's bullshit. That's coming, and we'll direct the money towards something else. I know what you're going to direct the money towards, and the dog out in the street at the minute knows what you're going to direct the money towards.
So just one thing I want to say to you, Sambo, and I know you say you're a lunatic and you're banging your head against the wall, but you remind me of Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. He kept writing letters, and those books eventually come. Keep banging the drum, because you have to keep banging the drum, because a lot of these people are they're happy to try and break you down and break your spirit or whatever, but never ever throw the towel in.
Yeah, but Michael, I love their game so much. I love the game so much that it's easy to fight for something when you love it. Like, it's easy. Like, I'd cross the white line, as we talk about, any day for the game of hurling. Like, I've been to 5 dinner dances promoting the smaller clubs and that there, 2 more this weekend. Like, nobody has to ask me, will you come and do a coaching session? I've been to these counties. I've coached these clubs. I've talked to the hurling people within these counties on a regular basis. You know, like, they're my soulmates, they're my friends and that there. And, like, and if a few football people think I'm a raving lunatic, well, I can live with that quite happily.
Just asking your thoughts then, just before we let you go, because you've been great with your time. How do you think the All-Ireland club title is going to go this year? Who do you reckon will be winning the provinces and getting into the final, I suppose?
Well, the game I'm really looking forward to, boys, is the Na Piarsaigh and Ballygunner. Like, I would have said, probably if you asked me now to put money on, I would probably have to go with Ballygunner this moment in time. But hurling's a funny game. Na Piarsaigh, like, I'll be interested to see what they do now against Ballygunner. The other one is Loch and Gales. You know, the fact that was a smashing game of hurling, and they could be a real dark horse here. But what they, you know, it's club players are kind of different. You know, like, some players at club getting their county medal, that's us going to beer, let's celebrate. Anything above that's a bonus, and that's a wrong way to go into these games. Like, you know, where the professional teams like Ballygunner and Ballyhale last year and out there, they're looking in All Ireland. Is these teams really looking in All Ireland? You know, and I'm really looking forward to them games this weekend. But if you're asking me the favourites at the minute, I would go Ballygunner 1, maybe Loch and Gales 2. You know, I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure, and not there because. But I like to look at an Offaly team too. You wee man, I'm looking forward to Mickey
Good
Butler
side.
and young boy going toe to toe.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Yeah,
But
Like,
Sambo,
Cormac-
a week ago, he was predicting Mount Leinster to beat O'Loughlin's, but O'Loughlin's to win Leinster. So, you know, it's hard to know with him talking out both sides of his mouth.
I was predicting if O'Loughlin's beat Mount Leinster that they'd win Leinster. That's what I
And if
said.
his aunt had Leroy,
Yeah.
But no, Sambo on Kilcormac, yeah, Kilcormac looked like they're made for kind of winter hurling. They have that lovely mix, and that's why that's going to be a belter of a game in Tullamore on Sunday week against O'Loughlin's. But there's a lot of really big marquee hurling ties coming up, and this weekend we've Clonlara and Kiladangan, Ballygunner and Na Piarsaigh, and obviously Cushendall and Portaferry. Like, sure, what more do you want?
Yeah, I think I always think, you know, it shortens a wonder for us up here because it's dull. We seem you don't want a county title. The wonder seems I have that season's disease.
Yeah.
You know what? And my wife loves the winter nights with the fire, letting the curtains pull at 5:30 in the evening. It drives me mental. Like, you know, like everything I love in life is the summer, you know, and the fact that the hurling's still going, we're still walking around, you're meeting somebody, you're giving off of a team selection in your club where you're praising this, it just shortens the wonder for us up here. Because we're that far north, we can see the Northern Lights now. You know, it's all right for you southern boys, you're a bit warmer down there and a bit more daylight.
Sambo, look, you've been absolutely brilliant with your time. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be doing it again soon.
All right, boys, take care. Love the new hairdo, by the way.
Cheers, Sambo. Good man.
Well, look, maybe someday you'll have a hairstyle like Sambo's, or maybe you'll go with the perm.
Yeah, well, we've had guests consecutive Thursdays where I'm sure that Martin Fogarty and Sambo, where I'm sure they'd love a bit of this.
Do you know, like, who do you think is going to win Hurler of the Year? You know my thoughts on it. I think it needs to be Aaron Gillan, Kyle Hayes, Dermot Burns, both excellent players. And, you know, Burns, like, the thing I'd say about Burns is, even before Limerick became what they became, he was still performing excellently. So he's, like, of all their players, because he kind of predates their dominance, the fact that he was so good even before that, I think kind of adds to it in a little bit. And to some degree, Declan Hannon as well. By the way, how old is Declan Hannon?
Is he? Was he 19 in 2012? Is he 30?
He's going to be 31 in another 9 days. Because I was chatting to someone earlier, and they were like, "Just sure, he'll surely be retiring soon." But like we see, Pádraig Walsh, who's retired now, he'll be 32. You know, by the time of next year's championship. You know, like Hannon, he's on a team where, you know, he's a brilliant part of that defence. But the way they're set up, he could play that role for another 3 or 4 years.
Do you think?
Well, his injury. It's all down to injuries, really.
I'm not sure. I think different players age differently as well. Like Pádraig Walsh has stepped out at 31, and like realistically, I think he was going to step out either this year or next year. Whereas TJ is probably going to play into 2024, and he'll be 37 at the end of the year. Do you know what I mean? Different lads like Hannon. And I mean this in the best way possible. We say about Hannon and Pádraig Walsh. There's probably, like, you wouldn't compare them to, let's say, a Sean Finn, or you wouldn't compare them maybe to an Aaron Gillan or a Gerard Hegarty, maybe athletically, shall we say.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying about Hannon. He could play that role, but will John Kiley and the lads think, okay, we're after finding a replacement six here, and maybe we would just have to jig the team back, and maybe Cottle O'Neill starts, and maybe David Reedy starts, and we just change our midfield a bit, and we have, as Eddie Brennan calls him, Willie O'Donoghue.
But Will O'Donoghue's about a year and a half younger than Hannon, so it's not like it's a change for years to come, you know.
No, it could be a change for 5 years. I'd say physically, like, Will O'Donoghue would still be playing to a very high level at intercounty at 33 or 34.
Well, the thing is with Hannon, assuming he can overcome whatever injuries he has, it's not like pace has ever been his game. So assuming he can stay physically in top shape, I don't see why he couldn't play another 3 years.
Yeah, maybe so. He's obviously had a couple of injuries the last couple of years, which would be worrying. Then you just think, you know, I tell you what will be interesting. Will he remain captain going into 2024?
Is it time to give someone else the honour?
I don't know.
He's lifted the All-Ireland 5 times. Okay, like, you've had the honour. Give someone else a go.
Yeah, well, Dublin wouldn't have, like, Cluxton would have still been the captain in 2023 had he not stepped away for a while. So maybe they don't look at it like that. But I don't know, is he a guaranteed starter going into 2024? He has to have, I'm just talking about fitness and just the concerns around fitness. That's all it is, really. But it's definitely an interesting one. And Pádraig Walsh ended up with 2 All-Irelands, I think, 2 All-Stars. Like, my abiding image of him is just getting a ball and kind of coasting away from lads and striking a ball on the run, left-hand side, 90 yards over the bar. I think he scored from play in the 5 All-Ireland finals he started, and I think he started all 5 of them as a defender, which is fairly outstanding.
Did he not start 2022 as a centre forward on Hannon?
2022? Oh, you're right, actually.
Yeah,
you're right. Sorry, that was the only one he started the forward. Yeah.
Because the thing I remember about that vividly is there was a time at one stage when Kilkenny were playing into the hill end. I can't really remember if it was the first or second half.
Yes, I know what you're going to say. He was free.
He was free and open and looking for the ball, and Hannon was probably back protecting the square, and it wasn't given to him, and a wide or whatever, a turnover instead happened. It's so frustrating as a centre forward because you're told drift into space, force the man to come out and follow you. And then it's kind of a release valve for Hannon because he doesn't, or somebody else doesn't have to pick him up. So, he's had some brilliant days. In a way, didn't he take over from Tommy Walsh in that position at wing back? Because didn't Tommy start that season 2014 in wing back? Then he ended up moving up wing forward. Remember, he played wing forward in Tullamore against Galway in a replay.
Did he start in defence in 14? I have it in my head that he was shipped up into the forwards
from the get-go.
After the kind of on the back of the Danny Sutcliffe replay game in Portlaoise in 13. Now, he played wing back against Cork in the quarter-final, but I have it in my head that he was a forward in 14 in Championship. I could be wrong. I'm
just wondering, did he start the Championship there? I'm going to look it up here.
He played against Galway, Shane, in the forward line. I'm fairly sure, and that was a Leinster semi-final. I'm fairly sure he did, or he came in the forward line.
He was, okay, so I'm going to check here against Offaly, of course, as you would remember well. Let's see. He came on for Colin Fennelly after 49 minutes. Yeah,
came on in the forward line. Yeah, he played the whole. Might have played a bit of league in defence, but was kind of shipped up to the forward line and was kind of.
Do you remember he started then wing forward? I think he might have been on Iarla Tanyan in the semi-final thereafter. I don't remember if it was the drawn one or the replay.
Yeah, I remember being at the game and him playing wing forward. I just remember him delivering a lovely ball into whoever was inside. I'm not sure it was Richie Hogan or Colin Fennelly. But yeah, that's kind of a mad one. Just when we were talking about the All-Stars as well, like John Conlon goes into a kind of a rare enough bracket of winning All-Stars in defence and attack. Tommy's obviously won them nearly everywhere apart from the full forward line. Imagine, say, you've won an All-Star, cornerback, wing back, midfield, wing forward. Like that's phenomenal, really.
Yeah. So who else is in that bracket? There was a few other people. I thought I texted you earlier, but
Ken McGrath.
Rick Walsh.
Who else? John Conlon, Brian Wheelahan. Probably missing one, maybe. I think Brian Corcoran.
Yeah. Let me just look it up. I remember it was online earlier. Let me just check here. Of course, I won't be able to find it straight away, and I'll have to move on.
I'd say you have it sent to me, to be honest with you, in the WhatsApp. I think there were 7 of them in total.
Here's a question for the viewers, Bertie. So, TJ Reid at 36 and 1 day will be the 5th oldest recipient of any All-Star Hurling Award measured against the award's date. So this is from GA Stats. Who are the 4 players older than him? And viewers,
I think I know 2 of them, but I won't say them. I think I know 2 of them. It is a fair achievement. Now, I think it's borderline whether if I'm honest, I don't think he deserved an All-Star this year, but it's some achievement to get an All-Star on his 36th birthday. Is it today? I think his birthday is today, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so I found it. So the 7 players that won an All-Star is both a back and a forward. Brian Corcoran, 2 in the backs, 1 in the forward. Brian Whelan, 3 and 1. Ken McGrath, 1 and 1. Tommy Walsh, 7 and 1. Brick Walsh, 2 and 1. John Conlon, 1 and 1. And Kyle Hayes, 3 and 1.
We left out Hayes, yeah. We left out Hayes.
Yeah. Hasn't Aidan O'Shea has them in 3 lines of the field?
Yeah, midfield, half forward, full forward. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad going either, is it?
It's fair going too. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I want to fly through, Shane, just when we're talking about the All-Stars, so we probably aren't going to come back to it. Just on some of the great players that finished their careers without All-Stars. Like, I think this list it's a bit hard to get your head around. I'm going to fly down through them.
Yeah.
Football, Michael Meehan, Aaron Kernan.
What?
Yes.
But, oh, Jesus,
Yes. Jason Sherlock, Liam Harnan, John Galvin, Owen Brosnan, Gary Brennan, Darragh Caneja, Diarmuid O'Connor, Kevin McLaughlin. Football, or hurling ones, Kevin McMenamin and Stephen O'Brien added to that list as well, who both were in the running for Footballer of the Year in 2 separate years and didn't end up getting an All-Star. Jim Troy Offaly, Tom Kenny Cork, Aidan Fogarty, Jerry McInerney, Galway. Now that's mad. Colin Ryan Clare, James McGarry nominated 7 times, didn't get it. Donal O'Grady, Limerick, Neil McManus, Antrim. And just on that, I said I had a piece in tomorrow's paper on not getting an All-Star. There's a great line in it. One of the All-Star committee actually told me this for a fact. He said one of the players who was nominated a good few times and didn't get selected or whatever, he had a few jars in him and he wasn't best pleased about it or whatever by the end of the night. And the funny thing is that like all the players or the nominees, you mingle with the selection committee, which are the journalists after. But this player in question showed his phone. It was an old Nokia back in the day in the noughties to one of the selection committee, and there was a message there from his manager, basically to him about the All-Stars. It just says, "Don't let the begins with B and there's 7 more letters with all asterisks, but don't let the B's get to you." So basically, like anybody that says the All-Stars don't mean anything, they mean a hell of a lot to people, and particularly when you don't get one. Like I was chatting to Taggy Fogarty about it, and he said like the thing that mystified me most was not getting an All-Star nomination in 2012, not necessarily getting an All-Star, but not getting a nomination. And I look back at the All-Ireland semi-final against Tip, and he scored 1-3, and he was just flying around the place. And I suppose what probably undone him was, I think he was the one that was dropped for Walter for the replay in 12. But it's amazing how lads can kind of be forgotten about then as well. I'd say the same as well. Like, I don't know how Jack Brown didn't get a nomination in 2018 for Clare. That was crazy. And while it's only a nomination, it means a hell of a lot even to get nominated.
So I'm just coming back to the players that are older than TJ Reid. So Frank Cummins, 36 years, 85 days. Noel Skehan, 37 and 4. Fan Larkin, 37 and 6. And then Noel Skehan, 1983, 38 and 58 days. Do you think TJ could beat that yet? Will he keep it going for another 3 years?
I doubt it. But Cluxton's going to kill all records in the football, isn't he, if he's picked?
Yeah,
he's going to obliterate all records. I wonder, is he even the current record holder at the moment? He could well be, but he's going to be, will he be 42 by the time he picks up the award? He won't be far off it. Like the records he has set, the All-Ireland wins, as captain, All-Star wins, whatever, like it's crazy. And by all accounts, Brian Fenton said no one has left the WhatsApp group yet, even though James McCarthy kind of half intimated at the GWA Awards last week that he kind of wanted to give something back to Ballymun and he wasn't happy with where they were at, but I can't see it. And if they haven't left the WhatsApp group yet, I'd say there's a fair chance they're going to all be on board for 2024.
Yeah, okay, so of the Young Hurler of the Year nominees, Adam Hogan, Mark Rogers, Kieran Joyce, Paddy Levy of Dublin should get it.
Paddy Doyle.
Sorry, Paddy Doyle. I'm mixing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I would have said Cotton O'Neill should get it.
Huh?
I would have said Cotton O'Neill should get it. I'd say of the 3 that are there, I'd probably be giving it to Mark Rogers. Because I think he wasn't far off getting an All-Star this year, and was probably he was in with a shout, I would have said, for a corner forward All-Star. Ended up on the freeze, missed a couple of frees in the semi-final, obviously, but had what was really a breakthrough season. I'll tell you something, Seán, I was interested on who's going to hit frees for Clare in 2024.
I would have thought him, Mark Rogers.
Yeah, it's just an interesting one. You have Duggan, you have Kelly, you have Mark Rogers. Will they leave him on the freeze for 2024? I think that's good.
I don't see anyone outside of Mark Rogers there being a 9 out of 10 free taker.
I haven't seen enough of him to know whether he's a 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 free taker as well. But he can't, in an Ireland semi-final, they can't have 2 or 3 different lads hitting frees, or it's just that will not wash. It's the point or two, and it also sucks that bit of momentum away from you too. So I think Mark Rogers was Young Hurler of the Year for me.
will you tee up the first of the two Munster Club semi-finals this weekend, Na Piarsaigh and Waterford, or Na Piarsaigh and Ballygunner of Waterford for us?
I surely will. Yeah, can't wait for this game. Like last year's game was probably one of the highest quality club games I've ever seen. And we're expecting much of the same on Sunday. So they're meeting in the Gaelic grounds again. Funny that they're meeting at the same venue, and it's a home venue for Na Piarsaigh 2 years running. Like, just,
well, the Cork team hasn't had home advantage in the Munster Championship at all.
That's true. That's true. When you fly down through, like, is matchups the best place to start? Like, some absolutely mouth-watering ones. Mike Casey picked up Desi Hutchinson last year. I think Desi ended up getting a crucial goal. Casey did well enough on him, to be fair. That's a really interesting one. Will O'Donoghue, and this would be my one worry from a Na Piarsaigh point of view. He got back for the county final and everything went swimmingly, and it can lull you into a false sense of where you actually are. Now, I'm sure he's not like that, and I'm sure he knows that I have to put in an unbelievable, 3 weeks since then, and I'm sure he has. But like what they're going to be faced with on Sunday, he could be faced with Pádraig Mahoney, he could be faced with Kevin Mahoney, he could be faced with Mikey Mahoney, he could be faced with Desi, he could be faced with Patrick Fitzgerald, all at different stages, and it's that like how Na Piarsaigh are able to shore up that area there is going to be fascinating, and how he's able to get to the pitch of the game is going to be fascinating too. O'Donoghue.
Yeah, do you know, I sometimes look at the Na Piarsaigh team and wonder, are they still always kind of trying to move things around to find their most optimal 15? Like Jerome Boylan is a big loss because, like our commenter Hurling 1234 says here, he would have been very good to pick up Patrick Fitzgerald, and they would have had Mike Casey on Desi Hutchinson and him on Fitzgerald. So now they're going to have to look at somebody else. And I don't know, is there a natural matchup? Because I don't think it would suit Cathal King. Like you're, really, really excellent club career that he's had over the years, but I'm not sure if he's necessarily suited to that matchup. And then you're looking at possibly Emmett McAvoy, somebody like that, and obviously they can move the pieces around, find somebody else to take the matchup. But I wonder, like, can they afford to have Will O'Donoghue been further back the pitch, potentially being played around? Because I think Ballygunner is so good at moving the ball up the pitch that if they don't meet the resistance of Will O'Donoghue around the middle sector, can they potentially just play O'Donoghue out of the game? And I think that Ronan Lynch is obviously an excellent hurler, right? I think he's better facing the play. And they've had him in the half back line and wearing number 6 and stuff like that. So we don't know where he'll play. He could play midfield. When you look at the match reports of the Patrick Swell game, that's where he was playing alongside Conor Boylan. So if you had him trying to be that hurling force at centre-back, cutting ball out, using the ball well from the back line, ostensibly it seems like that would be the call. And then have Boylan and Will O'Donoghue and some of those, Peter Casey coming out the field, getting on ball, David Dempsey. They have a lot of really good players there. To me, there's a, you look at that Ballygunner team, every position, it kind of almost picks itself already. Whereas I think the Piarsaigh have to sort of weigh things up an awful lot more. Yes, we can see why you put Will O'Donoghue centre back, and you might need him there, but you also need him further out the field. I mean, that's the big conundrum.
I totally take your point. Sure, Kevin Downs played the semi-final centre back, and he
played
wing.
Work.
Yeah, it didn't work, and he played wing forward last day, obviously, and it did work.
He was brilliant, yeah.
I'd be the same as you. I'd be putting Will O'Donoghue midfield and getting him to go to war with either Paddy Levy or Conor Sheehan, to be honest with you. Because I think, and he talked about it in the aftermath of the county final, I think that's something he's way more comfortable with. He wants to be in the fire. He doesn't want to be playing, and I totally agree. Ballygunner will play around him, and he would be a non-entity in the game. I agree with you 100% there, because that's what they do. They don't make a hero of the centre back, so they will not make a hero of him. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if, and they've done it all year, if Na Piarsaigh not necessarily ring the changes, but there'd be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 kind of positional changes. I would be along the lines of that. I'd be putting Will O'Donoghue midfield, because I think it's something he's going to be a lot happier with. And at least if he's a bit ring rusty, he's going to be, he'll know he'll be well involved after 10 minutes. There'll be a couple of big hits. And I just think, I remember actually last year's game, he put a goal on a plate for someone. I can't remember who it was, with a defence splitting pass, like a beautiful ball. So like maybe get him to kind of play that type of role as well going forward, maybe. But like I'd be of the same lines as you too, because otherwise I think he'd be played around. And like Ballygunner, it's all well and good having a plan to beat Ballygunner, and you're going to do X and Y. They're so well drilled at this stage. And I think someone we have to talk about here is like, what are Na Piarsaigh going to do with Philip Mahoney? Are they going to potentially push a 7 forward up on him? Maybe not that, but are they going to make sure that he is occupied throughout and maybe try and leave somebody else free?
Yeah, no, look, that's a great point as well. I actually think they should put one man inside in the 6-yard box and then play 2 forwards kind of out either side of him. Now that, of course, allows the Ballygunner defenders to mark on the outside of them, which is a little bit restrictive as a forward, but I think you just can't allow him to take over the game. A couple of things. I think they could look at the idea of playing David Dempsey really close to goal because he's got such a brilliant hand, but I think Barry Coughlin might be happy enough to try and wrestle with him close to the square. So maybe the flip side is to get a smaller, more diminutive, maybe Will Henn, maybe he'll operate further out the field. But just coming back again to what Na Piarsaigh will do at 6, because Ballygunner have been going for that long ball, or they did a bit of it against Sarsfields. We may not see it again. But if Will O'Donoghue is playing there at number 6 and he's protecting the D or whatever and ball goes long, you'd feel he'd be happy enough to do with that. And if there's a break, he's a brilliant +1 to get in a few tackles. Whereas I don't know if that's Ronan Lynch's game quite so much. So if Lynch, for example, plays centre back, maybe they'd be more inclined to go long. Whereas maybe they'd be inclined to go more short if Will O'Donoghue isn't, in the middle.
Yeah, just on that as well. Ballygunner are that good and that game smart that it will literally be 30 seconds into the game, they will realise who's centre back and they will realise whether we can go long or should go long or whether we can. You've been involved in teams, as have I, where it could take 45 minutes for a team to realise what they should or shouldn't do. Like, I've been involved in teams where we brought on a big man and put him into the edge of the square and we've not hit a ball into the edge of the square. Do you know what I mean? But Ballygunner are that smart. I'm sure it'll be a plan for, if O'Donoghue is here, we're not going to make a hero of him. We're not going to launch. Stephen O'Keefe will not hit one of these, boomers. If it's Ronan Lynch or somebody else, maybe less of a physical presence, and that's just because O'Donoghue is such a physical presence, it's not slighting anybody else, that they will look to play that.
Yeah.
But that's just how smart Ballygunner are. And it's also Seán O'Donnell analysing these Limerick players, I'm sure, to death, their strengths and weaknesses throughout the year. And now the boot is on the opposite foot and he's got the Ballygunner cap on. And now he's looking at, he knows what Will O'Donoghue is best at. He knows what Peter Casey's best at. He knows what all those boys involved with Limerick are best at. And Ballygunner will avoid making them look good, and put it to you that way. And they'll try and exploit their weaknesses or just play away from them.
Yeah, I just feel that the more we talk about this, the more that Na Piarsaigh need, let's borrow the parlance from soccer and basketball, the high press here. They need unbelievable tackling high up the field. To be fair, you'd imagine the collective energy of Adrian Breen, Peter Casey, maybe Ian Kenny will pick him up and follow him wherever he goes. Will Henn, I was going to say Vince Harrington, but he's in the half back line. David Dempsey and so on and so forth.
Kevin Downs.
They should be able to put a fairly heavy press with Boylan around midfield and maybe Will O'Donoghue there as well. If you're Pádraig Mahoney, though, you're probably, if Ronan Lynch is playing centre back, will he go centre forward to try and see, right, can he mix it with me and will he mark me closely? Or because you know that maybe Will O'Donoghue would sit back, would Pádraig Mahoney try to play off him, or would he look to go to one of the less experienced, still experienced wing backs, but less experienced guys and try and see, can he get a bit of change out of them? Again, it's just, there's so many aces in this pack for Ballygunner. I just feel it, because we've got questions about how Na Piarsaigh will set up and do they need a high press. We're not worried about do Ballygunner need a high press, for example. No. We're not worried about what if this player has to play there. That's why I can't but go back to last year's game and think for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, we're going to have an unbelievable club game. But then Ballygunner will just have them slightly at arm's length for the rest of the game. 3 points, 4 points, back to 2, back to 5. Something like that is what I'm expecting.
Yeah, just on Pádraig Mahoney, and I think it's crucial that we mention him. I mentioned him a lot. He gave probably one of the greatest club performances I've ever seen in that game last year. When things weren't going right for Ballygunner, he was putting over scores left, right and centre. I think did he end up with the guts of 5 from play maybe in that game? He was brilliant. Yeah. And I would agree with you. I think there's a hell of a lot of question marks on Na Piarsaigh. There's very few question marks on Ballygunner. And I think crucially for Ballygunner as well, and I mentioned this after the Sards game, they just, when have they last, we going back to Borrisalee for the last game where they didn't deliver a performance in a game, they generally
deliver against Borrislito.
they generally deliver every game. There's a comment in there as well. One Trick Pony just says Nap have a better goalkeeper this year. Well, like Dowling definitely has a fair array of tricks in his arsenal for a keeper, and like for a guy who hasn't played in goals that much, like this is some test for him now, because like Brendan Cummins always said, it's all well and good looking out and lads are making a run in Crow Park or whatever, but then a game tightens up and all you can see is the back of lads' jerseys. You can't see anything. Like you barely see players. Like the gap that he's going to have to play through at different stages on Sunday is going to be fairly minute, and the pressure is going to be high. And you can you'd sense it as well. If he's trying to go 60 yards and it's cut out and it's put back over the crossbar, there'll be that, when they
just fuck it out and play again.
Yeah,
I'm only joking. No, he's really passed every test so far this year, like saving penalties, the whole lot. So he's done excellently, but like you're saying, it's a big
and the noise will ramping up, and there's so much more pressure on the next puck out. But like, listen, as an outfield player, he was one of the most skillful players probably of his generation. He's taken that into the goals. It's going to be a big test, but he's passed every test so far with flying colours.
Richard Hogan says Na Piarsaigh are having to adjust to Ballygunner, which indicates that the game could be played on their terms. But I suppose that's just the way we're looking at it. Maybe it won't pan out that way. Nap look better this year, says Mike Doyle. Ballygunner are there for the taking.
I'd be of the opposite. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't have been nearly as impressed with Na Piarsaigh this year as I would have been last year. They fell over doing and were very lucky, and I think had a few refereeing calls on their side in the semi-final. Won the county final obviously by 4, but I would say Ballygunner are in a better place, to be honest with you.
Richard Hogan, is Dowling better than Sock Stephen O'Keefe? I don't think you could say that. He's one of the best keepers in the country, and Dowling's only just gone back there. But look, who knows how good he'll be in the next couple of years.
There's never any like, this is just mad. Like, I'm just talking raw Maisha. I'd say there's no chance that Dowling would ever be called in Limerick as a goalkeeper, is there?
Well, they have other options as well. What's his name again?
Jason Gallan, Conor Hanley-Clark.
Conor Hanley-Clark, I couldn't think of his name there. Do you know, remember we were saying after the Sarsfields game, they needed to run the ball through the middle and they needed to shoot from, work it up to about 50 yards out and pop the ball over the bar. Is there any possibility that Na Piarsaigh will just play with maybe one inside and just say it's going to be a lone furrow for you today? For example, Adrian Breen, I think would probably be the most likely. And then just try and run the ball up through the middle with the likes of Will O'Donoghue, with the likes of Peter Casey, David Dempsey and so on. All players who were very good at doing that, and get the shooters, and they're all shooters, plus Kevin Downs, etc., and try and win the game that way. Conor Boylan is another one. So I wonder, would they try and play the game in 100 yards of the field rather than trying to play the full 125 or 140, whatever the hell it is?
Yeah, I think Mike Foley's a shooter as well at wing back and has scored points from distance before. I wouldn't be that surprised, like, because look,
the opposite of the high press that I've been talking about in a way, it's letting them out a bit and then we'll create a wall.
Yeah, well, like, I think like Ronan Lynch can definitely do it. Downs can definitely do it. Peter Casey can do it from probably anywhere 8 yards in. Will O'Donoghue's probably capable of scoring from there. Mike Foley as well. They're going to have probably mixed the two, I'd say. Again, they probably have to start. They'll probably what I would imagine they try and do is they'll try and obviously get a bit of space inside and create a couple of, one-on-ones or one-on-twos probably for Breen. But then when Mahoney sits back that bit further, that's when they'll have to start maybe shooting from out the pitch, I'd say. But the thing about this is it's all well in theory. But like, I'd love to be on a field against Ballygunner and just feel how suffocating it is. Because
we played them several times.
We've never played them. But I'd imagine it's very claustrophobic, and I'd say it's after getting more claustrophobic in recent years. Yeah, no, anytime I played against them, just everyone can hurl. There's plenty of size around the pitch. Nobody's weak. Everyone can move and everyone can hit you. They're a really good team, and their use of the ball is excellent, and they're composed. And that's why they keep getting as far into championships as they do. So are you also going with Ballygunner to win this one? Yeah, like I think it could be by 7 or 8 in the wind-up. I think it could be a tight game, like you're saying, but I think they could have my arm's length and could have him physically broken by the 50th, 55th minute and then kick on like they do. I think it's probably 7 or 8 in the wind-up. Yeah, I probably think it'd probably be like 4 or 5, but I think we're looking at similar patterns. Would you start Peter Casey centre forward to play off Philip Mahoney as Harbour 6? I don't think that
that's how it will pan out, because I just think a man marker will go on him and Mahoney will end up as a +1 either way. So in theory, that sounds nice. And even at the other end, Pádraig Mahoney being off, Will O'Donoghue or Ronan Lynch, etc., etc. But in theory, it won't pan out that way. There will be a marker for them.
Just an interesting one, something I've noticed with Paddy Levy. So Paddy Levy, to me, is like one of Ballygunner's most effective players. Like the amount of donkey work he does, either sitting back at 6 or whatever, or linking, whatever. But I thought it was interesting in last year's All-Ireland semi-final. I don't know if this was a tactic or not, but it definitely looked like Ballyhale were letting him hit the ball. They actually wanted him to hit the ball. And I distinctly remember him hitting a wide or two and an aimless ball in. So what's the natural reaction when a fella has the ball? You press him and try and take the ball off him. But it genuinely looked like Ballyhale were like, no, we're not going to commit to you. Rather than letting you do this brick flick, we're going to push up on everybody else and we're going to let you strike the ball. And it was quite effective. And I distinctly remember Ballygunner were chasing the game, maybe 2 down, and Paddy Levy had a shot. And he's brilliant at shooting, but it's not something you see. You don't see it. It's not like he plays to somebody else. So I wonder, will Na Piarsaigh do something similar? Will they press everywhere else and maybe force him to strike the ball and see how that goes? I'd be happier to see him do something different and rather just letting him dominate the way he normally does, if you get me.
Because we're not really making a comment on his hurling. Like, he's obviously a really effective player.
Yeah,
but
unbelievably effective.
If he's always looking to do the brick flick and the short play, then you know that's when he's at his most comfortable. So yeah, like what you're saying, if you see him get the ball, obviously if someone's close there and they can try and get in a tackle, of course do it. But everyone should be picking up every short option going and saying, okay, if we know that's your plan A generally, let's force you into plan B. So yeah, really, really excellent point.
And then I think if teams do start doing that, then teams will be like, all right, Paddy, you're going to town on these boys. You're going to hit 3 or 4 per game or whatever it is. And that's what'll happen. But I'd be interested to see if that's what happens on Sunday, because I thought it was 2 things Ballyhale did. That was one. And another thing was they made sure that every Ballygunner were giving them sharp puck outs. And I'd say in Ballygunner's head, they wanted Brian Butler to take the puck out. He was playing corner back. So Evan Shefflin started every move corner back. He switched with Brian Butler for every puck out, and Evan Shefflin ended up on about 5 or 6 puck outs. And they got the ball player on the ball. And Na Piarsaigh are going to have to think outside the box. And listen, we've seen from various things he's done down through the years, and even how Na Piarsaigh tried to stop Con a couple of times in the All-Ireland Club final. Shane O'Neill is not afraid to think outside the box. So it'd be fascinating to see. He wasn't there last year, so it's going to be fascinating to see what he has for Ballygunner.
Yeah, and then the other side, Kiladangan, they're making their first appearance in the Munster Senior Hurling Club Championship against the Clonlara team that hasn't been there for 15 years. And I spoke with Shane Brophy on Tipcast yesterday about this, so you can check that out if you like as well. But what I would see here is there's the matchups should, I'm not saying that Kiladangan will suit them, but they've got matchups that seem to make sense for the Clonlara forwards. So I would have thought of the inside line, Fergal Hayes might pick up Dermot Stritch. I would have thought that James Quigley, he'll be looking to push back into the county setup. So Ian Galvin is a great test. So he'd probably be looking to do well there. Michael O'Loughlin, I think, is the other corner forward. Maybe David Sweeney would pick him up. Half forward line then. I think Joe Gallagher going on John Connon is the one that, in terms of like physical matchup, that would make sense. So he could go on him, whether he's wing, whether he's in centre forward. Now, if he moves into full forward, you'd obviously do a little switcheroo at that point. But then maybe Colm Galvin and Declan McGrath would pick up Alan Flynn and Declan McGrath would pick up Colm Galvin and Colm O'Mara. So I would have thought from that point of view that Kiladangan were really good forwards in the first place. They'd feel like we've got matchups that make sense. We mightn't win them all, but it's not like mismatched City, or it shouldn't be. Yeah,
no, there's lots of matchups that you would think would make sense from a Kiladangan point of view there. I do think it's fascinating. Like the Clare faithful seem to be so cocksure that Clonlara are going to win this game, and I just can't see the bullishness. Like, I don't understand confidence. But this.
You were there at the county final, so tell us where they could get at Kiladangan, because you know both teams really well.
Well, I think it's probably underappreciated how physical Clonlara are, and how they're a mobile team, but they're a big physical team as well. Like, everyone knows the Galvins and John Conlon, but they've got a really, really good spine, and they're all mid-20s or that. They're all in kind of prime shape or whatever. I have to say, now, I was impressed enough with Clonlara in the final. They could have had probably 6 or 7 goals realistically on Crusheen. They didn't take their chances, and they still won the game, pulling up with Ian Galvin. Really, like, and he will take a fair bit of watching, and that is a fair forward line. But if Kiladangan can even break even with the matchups there, you're looking at the other end of the pitch, and you're thinking with Billy Seymour, with Willie Connors. Like, the longer this season goes on, the better you'd imagine. Yeah, Willie Connors is going to get. Seán Hayes is going to get as well.
As far as I know, Willie Connors is back with Tip as well. Like, that's the word in the grapevine. Like, and he probably would have been there for the last.
What about Alan Flynn?
Look, let's not go there. I think Bridges burned, might be put. But like, I think he is a huge part to play this weekend. But like, when you're looking at that Clonlara team, how do you feel about the goalkeeper Shamey Gully? How do you feel about the defensive spine in terms of like Ger Powell, maybe centre back, fullback Dylan McMahon, centre back?
Yeah, no, I was impressed enough with them. I wouldn't have known much about them before going to the Clare final. But it's Hurling 1, 2, 3, 4 just says there. O'Mara and Moriarty are class. Only 21 years old. Both, I think, like, Moriarty midfield is like a tasty player, and they are very mobile, but they're also physical as well. That's why I think that it's going to be fascinating from that point of view. Really, I think it's like, I know there's not going to be any physical disparities or conditioning disparities. It's going to come down to greater hurling now, and that's basically Tip versus Clare. So that is absolutely beautiful. It's set up beautifully.
And a 6 Mile Bridge man is over Kiladangan in John O'Mara, so he really should know the 6 Mile Bridge team very well. This Clonlara team very well.
You'd imagine so, yeah. I'd imagine even following his own club the last couple of years, he would have seen them at fairly close quarters. I think Kiladangan will come through. I think it'll be tight, but I think they'll come through. It's obviously their first foray into Munster as well. I think they'll want to make up, like they would have loved the crack in 2020. There's part of me, even if I didn't think Kiladangan were going to win, that just to make sure I didn't appease the Clare lads, that we just have to go for them anyway. But I do think they'll just about get the job done. Now, I do think there's a fair disparity between the two semi-finals. Like, if in terms of I think
you're having a pop with Tip and Clare now. Lovely.
I do think that like the winners of this semi-final are going to be in for could be in for a potentially rough day in a Munster final. But if they're able to get over a tough task like it is on Sunday, maybe they'll go in with plenty of confidence. But it's Kiladangan by a couple of points after a fair arm wrestle. But it should be a good game. Expecting 2 crackers, both live on telly on Sunday.
Yeah, Ty Gallagher getting very little mention, says Hurling 1, 2, 3, 4. Think he's class. No, he's good. And I think Willie Connors is going to drop into his own half back line, and which, he's a huge strength for them, assuming he's fully fit. And Kiladangan need to stop shooting from 100 yards, because I think if they work the ball up to those brilliant forwards like Paul Flynn and Seán Hayes and so on and so forth, they can get more change out of it. Because, how much did they get out of Andy Lucknan and Brian Mallochny the last couple of days? Feed them a bit of ball. Feed Paul Flynn a bit of ball. He didn't do what we normally expect in the county final replay. And at the other end,
feed the goat and he will score. Isn't that what you say about Sean Goater?
Yeah, but the last couple of days, they had to come up against Ronan Maher as the spare man, and Dylan McMahon's obviously a very good player, but I don't know if he's quite the same level as Ronan Maher. So I don't know if he'll be as dominant or influential as, let's say, Ronan Maher was. And these are the reasons that I'm coming back to Kiladangan winning the game. Again, I think it'll be an arm wrestle. I think there are areas of the pitch where Clonlara will cause bother. John Conlon is going to get his few scores for sure, and he's going to cause bother. If he can get through and either score a goal or set up a goal or two, if Ian Galvin can get isolated and do something similar, there's definitely a route for Clonlara to win this game. But when I weigh it up, I just see Kiladangan, unless they dirty the course, because they haven't had that chance to play Munster before, it must be and should be a huge thing. Unless they panic on the day, which I don't think they will. That's the only reason that I'd see them not performing. And if they perform based on how we're talking, I'd lean towards them.
Yeah, I'd be the same. SSRI just says Clonlara must be nearly a neighbour club with Na Piarsaigh. Opposite sides, Na Piarsaig's the other side of the city. But yeah, they would be pretty close, all right. Yeah, definitely would be pretty close.
20-minute
It's such a big opportunity for both Clonlara and Kiladangan. 20-minute, yeah. It's
11 kilometers
in bad traffic, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but such an opportunity for the two of them here. Clonlara haven't been in Munster in 15 years. Kiladangan have never been in Munster before. One of them is going to be in the Munster final come 4 o'clock Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker, and just really, really looking forward to both of those games. There's other games that we haven't talked about coming up this weekend. St. Lomans of Westmeath are against Naas of Kildare, and Naas, of course, they're on for a Leinster double at the moment, which would be incredible going. They've Lomans, of course, this weekend, and they've Na Fianna of Dublin the weekend after. Do you think Naas can keep this going? I mean, there's dual players there going. They must, hour their bodies. I mean, I'm sure the Kildare Hurling Championship wasn't all that taxing because they've won 5 in a row at this stage. They're pretty dominant. How are the bodies going to be? What's the confidence going to be like? Will they get another crack at Kilmacud Crokes, which of course they'll want?
Yeah, they'll be mad for another crack at Crokes, beaten by them the last 2 years. Whether they've narrowed that gap or not is another story. You mentioned dual players, kind of Brian Byrne and James Burke are the two starters anyway. Like Lomans are a seasoned enough outfit at Leinster level as well. And I'm sure you're talking about two teams really on a bit of a revenge mission here. Lomans would have expected to have won a Leinster title by now, definitely, without a doubt, given the calibre of players they have. And Naas hadn't won a county title in 31 years, then got to a Leinster final, beaten by Crokes, tight enough game, then beaten in the semi-final by Crokes last year. Wouldn't expect there to be too much in it. Just going through the Lomans team here, and you're looking at the attack, and you're thinking, geez, they have some amount of the tools that could really hurt you between Sam McCartan, Ronan O'Toole, Shane Dempsey, John Heslin. That's basically 4 of the. Sam McCartan plays out around the middle of the field for Westmeath, but that's 4 of the top 9 on the West, or top 8 on the Westmeath team. And it's no surprise they put up 120 the last day. O'Toole is actually nominated for an All-Star tomorrow night as well. He was brilliant, and he was brilliant in their win the last day against, who did they beat the last day? Kilo the last day. So yeah, I find it difficult enough to call that game now, to be honest with you, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it went to extra time.
Yeah, and Kilmacud Crokes, they're up against RD of Louth, St. Mary's RD, who had beaten Blessington by 3-9 to 2-5 there. And it's going to be another strangulation from Crokes, isn't it? Where they just hold the opposition to beneath 10 points and they just put up a couple of goals and 12 or 14 points, something like that. It just feels like it's going to be arm wrestle central. And maybe RD people would think that we're doing them down a little bit, but they just do this to almost everybody.
Yeah, you mentioned it was probably going to be another hammer and off air. That's not disrespect to RD. That's just the way it is. And they're not coming up against, RD wouldn't have that much experience at Leinster level. But a hammering for Crokes is 112 to 3 or 4 points, and it just deny. It just will not let you. You're talking about 10 points. If RD are able to get to 7 or 8, I'd say they'll be doing well. And that's no disrespect to them. There's so many teams before them that the exact same thing has happened. It's happened to Naas. It's happened to the Downs. It happened to Óg the last day when they were held to 4 points. And it's very, very difficult to see anything other than a pretty comprehensive Crokes win. And they seem to be kind of coming to the boil after having a couple of really ropey patches in the Dublin quarterfinal and semi-final. Brilliant in the Dublin final against Ballygunner. Brilliant the last day against Óg. They look like they're coming right just at the perfect time.
Yeah, it's 25th anniversary of the last time that Ballina Stephenites met Corofin in the club championship. That was an All-Ireland semi-final, and it went to a replay. So the teams drew the first day out on a Saturday, and they had to do a replay on a Sunday.
The next day?
The next day.
Oh, wow.
Within 24 hours. Ballina won the game, and they went on to lose the All-Ireland final to Crossmaglen by a point. But there's plenty of quality on both sides, and we saw how Ballina, they won the last day out despite not having key men like Pádraig O'Hora and Evan Regan.
Yeah, Pádraig O'Hora was in a boot as well, which would be very worrying about whether he's going to
boot.
Yeah, it's going to be very doubtful about whether, there's not too many fellas will be going around in that protective boot a week before playing in a game. So, and Evan Regan is their top scorer, and they got through Fulham Irish without them, but they won't get through Corofin without them, and they're both going to have to feature, you'd imagine. So question marks definitely about them. Corofin, are seasoned at this stage, aren't they? And the big talk of Dottie Burke being back as well. It was only a week between the hurling final with Turlock and the football final with Corofin, so he hadn't featured at all. But by all accounts, he's kind of back on board. And they were briefly mentioned dual stars earlier. Like, they don't get much better. I don't think he's ever played football for Galway. Has he I don't think he ever actually played senior county football at the very start.
I'm nearly sure he played against Tip in 2014 in a match.
Well, sure, who'd remember that? Like, you know,
we're number 19, I think.
No, you could be right. I think I'm gonna say it was at the very, very start of his Galway career. I think you could be right, but like his CV with Corofin is absolutely outstanding, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get Ian Burke back, or like are going to have any of these lads back. If they can get a cohort of boys back, just to strengthen things to go into the provincial stages, I think they could be hard enough beaten, to be honest with you. And despite what they've won, they're probably a dark horse going in realistically.
Yeah, and on the other side of the semi-final, St. Bridget's of Roscommon are up against Mohill of Leitrim. And I just wonder, was it Brian Stack, who got injured the last day out? I'm not sure how severe that knee injury is, but it's certainly
a week on as well. Again, like that's tough. Like,
yeah, and but I think even the projection was that it was a little bit more serious than something that would just keep him out for a short period of time. Probably hard to go against St. Bridget's winning that game. They have plenty of experience at this level. They've won some big games in Connacht already. So I'd say they have that confidence of feeling that, we can take care of Mohill and get ready for the winners of Ballina against Corofin.
Yeah, I'm sure Eamon O'Hara won't see it that way, and they've had plenty of time since winning Leitrim, and they were in trouble early on in that Leitrim final, and they came good, and they've probably had a bit of a heartbreak the last couple of years. I'd say they'll view that as an opportunity now, particularly like if they're going to have to detail someone on Ben O'Carroll, they're going to have to keep him very quiet. But if Stack is missing, maybe it's probably from Mohill point of view that it's not in Carrigan Shannon that they have to travel in that. But I wouldn't see that as one-way traffic now, and I'd have an inkling that Mohill will make it very competitive and maybe cover the handicap.
Is there anything else you want to do before we finish? Did you have a quiz?
No, I actually blew my quiz. My quiz was all the All-Stars that I named out that don't have, or the non-All-Stars.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I kind of lost the run of myself there. Not the first time, obviously.
Well, look, that's it from the show this Thursday. If you want to get the audio podcast, it's at patreon.com/ourgame. Michael, we'll see you after the weekend.
Cheers, Shano.